Jnanatirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Oh, but I don't know if I clicked share sound. I didn't see that option. Let me stop the share. I'm gonna share computer sound. Okay. Mono or stereo? Mono. People. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties here. So
also,
we're on...
not the 18th one, 19th one. I think we did this one.
So it is Sarvasvatomar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This is a very, very beautiful song of Śaraṇāgati, also dear to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We have a beautiful recording of Srila Sridhar Maharaj chanting this. So I'm gonna pull that up. That will be the best thing. Welcome. I think that was Tungarasa who just joined us.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Tungarasa.
Everyone.
I've been appreciating your beautiful Facebook post. I'm trying to avoid interaction on Facebook, but I do appreciate you're like practically the only person who posts just really nice, solid devotional content. Not many.
Which one post? Which one?
There was one you just posted about what was it about? I can't remember. But it was really nice. About Gorni Tai.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna look it up. It was really nice. But you always post really nice, like solid quotes from our gurus. The best of all doctors. This is a very cool post.
Yeah,
posted. Yeah, about Murari Gupta. He was a devotee physician. Yes. But it mentions in Chaitanya Charitamrita he was able to cure both spiritual and material diseases. So this is the best doctor. Yeah, very nice. Here we are, Sarvasvatoma. Okay, I'm going to start playing this. Please, if you can't hear, please give me a thumbs down or something.
সর্বস্ব তোমার চরণে সপিয়া সর্বস্ব তোমার চরণে সপিয়া করেছি তোমার ঘরে করেছি তোমার ঘরে তুমি তো ঠাকুর তোমার কুকুর তুমি তো ঠাকুর তোমার কুকুর বলিয়া জানো রে বাঁধিয়া নিকটে আমারে পালিবে রহিব তোমার দ্বারে রহিব তোমার দ্বারে প্রদীপ জনে রে আসিতে না দিব রাখিব গরের পাহাড়ে রাখিব গরে তব নিজয়ন প্রসাদ সেবিয়া উচ্ছিষ্ট রাখিবে যাহা উচ্ছিষ্ট রাখিবে আমার ভোজন পরম আনন্দে আমার প্রতিদিন হবে তাহা বসিয়া শুইয়া সবিনটি সতত বসিয়া তোমার চরণ বসিয়া শুইয়া তোমার চরণ চিন্তিব সতত আমি চিন্তিব সতত চিন্তিব সতত আমি আর নাচিতে নাচিতে নিকটে যাইব যখনই ডাকিবে তুমি প্রভু নিজের পোষণ কভু না ভাবিব ঘুরিব ভাবের ভরে হে ভগবতী বিনোদ তোমারে পালক বিনোদ বিনোদ সেবক তোমারে পালক অধম সেবক তোমারে পালক বলিয়া বরণ করে বলিয়া এই অধম সেবক তোমারে পালক বলিয়া করে
Jai. Very, very beautiful song of surrender, and particularly illustrating this mood of Goptrichevaran, embracing the Lord's guardianship. And so we have this recording of Srila Sridhar Maharaj chanting it, and also we've heard Srila Gurudev quote it. This line is somewhat well known. Some of you may have heard this. Tumi to Thakur, Tomara Kukur. Like, you are my master, I am your dog. Kukur is his dog. I'm going to, and I've heard, there's actually there's a talk of Srila Gurudev. I'm going to share this link in our chat for any of you who would like to. Actually, I'll just share the whole page. Sarvas, I'll share these are really nice recordings on here. I'll share in our chat. Scarlett saying yes, please. There's a very beautiful talk of our Gurudev. This is 1985, and it was the day after Srila Sridhar Maharaj's appearance day, the day that Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave sannyas to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. No, actually, no, this was on the day of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's appearance, because what was so striking is that even though it was Srila Sridhar Maharaj's appearance day, he spent about 2 hours glorifying his own disciple, Srila Govinda Maharaj. And we have an excerpt of that recording, unfortunately not the full talk. And then afterwards, he requested Srila Govinda Maharaj to speak, and our Gurudev spoke in this mood of heartbreaking humility. And he actually quoted this line from this song, you know, I am your dog. And he also, there was another comment he made, I think of sometimes, that I am the dustbin of this temple. So that is my position. I'm the dustbin of this temple. So very, very touching song. Well, Suvasni, do you want to lead us in reading this song here?
Yeah, sure. But if you would like to do it, you know, maybe it's your favorite.
Okay. Okay, maybe I will.
Okay.
Thank you. Sarvasva Tomar Charane Sapya Gorechi Tomara Gore. So taking everything that I have and falling at your feet, Porechi tomara gore. Taken shelter in your home. Offering everything, actually, the Bengali is offering everything to your feet, to everything. Sarvasva's everything, right? Everything is yours. I'm offering at your feet. Porechi tomara gore, like falling at your gore is like house. It gives you an image of like at the door, like I'm at your doorway. I've just fallen on your doorstep. You know, it's kind of like the idea that's being conveyed here. I'm at your doorstep. I'm lying at your doorstep. Please let me in. Please give me shelter. Tumi to takur, you are my Lord, my master. Tomara kukur, I'm your dog. Bolia jana hamore, please consider me in this way. Please think of me in this way. Badia nikate, amare palibe. And then he's continuing this analogy, right, of this position of a dog, you know, tying me up nearby. Badia nikate, amare palibe. You will maintain me. Rohibo tomara dware. And I will remain at your door. You know, like a guard dog. Pratipa janede asite nadib. I will not let any inimical persons, any anti-persons enter. Rakibo gadana pade. I will keep them on the other side of the moat. This word is put here. Gader, the moat. Tavani jajan pashada sevia uchisharaki bejaha. Your Nija Jan. Nija Jan is a beautiful expression. You see it in some of the songs. Nija means own, and Jan means person. So like devotees of the Lord, they're sometimes referred to in that way. Nija, Tava, your. So you're like your own people. That's literally what it means. Your own people, your own persons. Means the devotees. Prashada Sevya. Their prashad, you know, their divine food remnants. Sevya, I will serve them. Uchishta, Rakibe, Jaha, whatever, like Uchishta means kind of like leftovers, you know, prashad, leftovers. Rakibe, Jaha, whatever they keep, whatever they leave behind, I will honor that as prashad. Amara Bojana, that is my food. That is my food. That will be my food. Parama Andane, and with great supreme joy, pratidina hobetaha, every day that will be my food, my supreme joy. With great joy I will honor every day. Bosya shuya. Bosya means sitting, shuya lying down. Tomara charana, your feet, chinti bosata ta'ami. I will, whether I'm like in all circumstances, whether I'm sitting, whether I'm laying down, in whatever circumstance, I will be thinking constantly of your feet. Very beautiful expression. Bosya, shuya, tomara, charana, chintibo, satata ami. I'm always thinking of you in whatever circumstance, in whatever situation. And I'm always ready for your seva, right? Then what is the next line? Nachite, nachite, nikate jaibo. Nachite is referring to dancing. So jakana dakibe tumi. Like whenever you call for me, dakibe is referring to calling. Whenever you call for me, I will come running, dancing to you. I will come near to you immediately, dancing joyfully all the way. You know, like I'm always ready. I'm always thinking of you, whether I'm with you or when I'm not, whether I'm not with you. I'm always thinking of you, and I'm always ready for your seva. And when you call me, I'm just ready, you know, like a dog, ready for the call. As soon as the master calls, it goes running, always living. And we were listening to that beautiful talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj the other day, where he was saying, you know, how the true disciple is always living within the relativity of their guru. They're always living in consciousness of their guru, whether they're physically with them or not. You know, they're always remembering them. And so whenever the call comes, they're ready, you know. Sometimes I think of some devotees as suicide squad in reserve. Suicide squad in reserve, like they're always ready. They may be sometimes active in the Lord's service, sometimes not active, but they're always ready for that call. You know, internally, they're always situated in that plane. Nijera poshana kabuna bhavibo. I will never think of my own maintenance, my own care, my own nourishment. Rohibo bhavere bore. This phrase is very beautiful. Remaining in this word rohibo comes up a few times. It's referring to like remaining, right? Or being situated. Bhavere, bhav is referring to this mood of love. It's put here as loving attachment. And this word bode, I'm not so familiar with, but it's translated as shelter. It's a very beautiful line. The shelter of love for you. This is real shelter. It's a state of consciousness. I will always remain within the shelter of love for you, remembering you, having attachment for you, being engaged in your service. This is real shelter. This is a very deep line, very deep expression to consider. To be living within the consciousness of the Lord, of Guru, Gauranga, Vaishnava. This is true shelter. This is true mercy. This is true grace. Nijera poshana kabuna bhavibo rohibo bhavira. I will never think about my own self, my own care, but I always be in the shelter. I'm always in this real shelter. I'm not worrying about my mundane shelter, but I'm living in the true shelter of your remembrance, your divine remembrance. Bhakti Vinod, now Bhakti Vinod is signing his name at the end of the song. Bhakti Vinod, Tomare Palaka, Bolia Varana Kode. This Palaka, it is like I'm embracing you as the person who maintains me, right? Who protects me. I am in your care, right? I'm placing myself in your care. Remember, this song is illustrating that mood, right? Embracing the Lord's guardianship. So I'm embracing you as my maintainer, as my caretaker, as my protector. Bolia Varana Kode. Not sure how that literally translates, but I'm embracing this, this relationship with you. I will never think about my own maintenance. I will always remain within the shelter of loving attachment to you. Bhakti Vinod embraces you as his maintainer. Nijera Poshana Kabuna. Now we have some commentary here from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Nijera poshana kabuna bhavibo. I will never think about my own maintenance. This state of surrender is described in Shri Bhakti, the Samrita Sindhu. This is a very nice, I was trying to remember this the other day. Srila Sridhar Maharaj also cites it in Prapana Jivanamrita. Chintam kuryan nadakshayer vikritasya yata pasho. Tarta payan haro deham vidamed asya rakshanat. As one does not worry about the maintenance of a souled animal, so one will not worry about maintaining oneself upon fully offering one's body unto the Supreme Lord. A very, very, very clear and strong analogy. Very strong analogy. If you sell some, some animal, some cattle, you don't think of that, generally speaking, right? You trust that that animal is being cared for by the new owner, right? So in the same way, there's this detachment that will develop in the hearts of the surrendered souls, right? That there's this space, right? Not that this is my body, this is something I'm encased in, and now it's been offered to the Lord, and he will take care of it, right? this is not something that we can imitate. We can also mention that it is a very high level of faith and surrender. Chintang Koryanadakshaya Vikritasya Tapasho. It's very beautiful, this whole song, because it's showing the joy that's in the heart. It's describing the joy. It's one of the happy songs. It's describing the joy that's in the heart of the surrendered souls, which is, others cannot understand, actually. It's not something that can be understood. We can appreciate on some level, and we may get some touch of that in our own lives of attempting to surrender. But what joy there is in a life of surrender, embracing one's helplessness, right, in connection with the Lord. What joy, what happiness is there. And this deep trust, right? This deep feeling of trust in connection with the Lord. There's no separation. Everything's being merged into the Lord's account, right? Everything is centering around the real center. Everything is an offering to the Lord. And there's this deep trust of the Lord's love for us, the Lord's care for us in everything, in every instance. There's also this embracing of our humble position, right? I mean, it's kind of an intense song. We may not be able to share with everyone. It's a pretty intense analogy, right? We're the dog of our master. Not everyone may be ready to appreciate that. But for those who are a little more developed, it's very joyful. I mean, I think everyone in our group today can appreciate the joy and the happiness in such a position to be the dog of a loving master, loving divine master. The thing is, and this is the thing that persons outside of this culture can understand, is that you can only really understand it once you've had the association of a great soul. And then you realize how joyful it is to embrace a position of insignificance, right? And that was something that we experienced in a very tangible way with our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj. Persons would be fighting to wash his clothes, to clean his bathroom, clean his room, carry a cup of water to him, like the most humble, ordinary, insignificant services, they became like prizes, because there was so much joy and deep, indescribable joy that was experienced. And it's such a simple thing as handing, that was like a major privilege to be able to hand a glass of water, or to even like to switch on a light at his request, like. So having had that type of experience, all of these types of expressions, they make sense because you realize, and the connection with such a great soul, everything becomes very high. Everything becomes a privilege because they are so exalted. They are so great and loving also. There's no tinge of exploitation. Rather, like we experienced with our Gurudev, that he got a little tired of having so many people around him wanting to serve him. But he was actually serving them by accepting their service. He was trying to please them. That was something I observed a number of times, And he made some statements too, like he wasn't so comfortable. So many people are serving me. He wasn't so comfortable with that, but he wanted to reciprocate with them and give, it was something that would give them so much encouragement and inspiration in their spiritual life to have that personal service connection. And I remember once, one young devotee was like eager to do something, and she asked our Gurudev, and our Gurudev also, like, he always followed social etiquette, and he would check in with like the boss of the servitor group, like, is there anything that they can do? Like he wouldn't like step over. So he might playfully do things like that sometimes, deliberately, kind of just for fun. But generally he would give that type of respect to the existing servitors. I remember one time he asked like one of the principal servitors, oh, is there anything this person can do? They want to do something, can you engage them? You know. So having that experience and having met such a great soul, we can understand, right? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he made that comment in regards to Mahatma Gandhi, right? That there was this one, I believe it was an article of Srila Saraswati Thakur where he spoke about, actually, I remember what it was. There was some criticism that came against the Gaudiya Math, because they're, you know, they were preaching in quite, maybe I'll stop our screen share for a moment. Welcome, Giridhar. We haven't seen you for a long time. How exciting. Really happy to have you, Prabhu. It was, you know, the Gaudiya Math, sometimes we forget, they were preaching in a challenging time because it was the time of all this upheaval within India. You know, there was the movement against the British occupation. There was tension between Hindus and Muslims. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned, in, you know, you don't hear about these things. Our Gurudev actually joins the Math at the very time of the partition of India. He was actually in Kolkata, like on the day of, he was just passing through. They were going to Vrindavan, from Puri to Vrindavan. They're passing through Calcutta, and they stopped to visit Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. And maybe it wasn't exactly the day of the partition, but it was around that time. Might have been a day or a couple of days before or after. There were riots going on in Calcutta. They were witnessing all kinds of crazy things in Calcutta. You know, bombs going off, riots, all kinds of conflict. But it's interesting because you don't hear them talk about that, right? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was also in the midst of a turbulent time when he joined the mission, his guru's mission. It was also turbulent. You don't hear them talk about. I just heard Gurudev like mention it once, you know. You know, they're so aloof to all these things, you know, the world, the general world flow, world stream, right? Just something playing in the background music, right? For them. Meanwhile, we're like freaking out about all kinds of things, right? But yes, in one talk, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, it was very interesting because I never ever heard him talk about it. But in this one talk, he mentioned how they were preaching. The Gaudiya Math was preaching at a difficult time. You know, people were like kind of fighting just for some basic rights, right? And trying to establish some decent, just basic level of peace. And meanwhile, the Gaudiya Math's coming along and saying, oh, you are a spirit soul, you're a servant of Krishna. And it's like, how is this relevant right now, right? It's difficult to preach in those circumstances. And then there was some criticism that came against the Gaudiya Math on this point, that they're saying, oh, now we're fighting for our independence, right? You know, India's been through occupation of so many different nations, and at that time they were fighting against the British rule. And you know, it's kind of an embarrassing. I happened to read today about one very noble Indian woman who was imprisoned by this, like an embarrassing chapter of the British government, right? They're imprisoning all these freedom fighters, and it was a very heavy time. So there was this criticism that came against the Gaudiya Math, saying that, you know, we're fighting for independence right now. We're fighting for freedom, and you're preaching slavery. Like, this is not helpful right now. This is not helpful. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj made some interesting comments. And in this one talk, his angle was, he was saying, well, what's real freedom? We have to examine that. You know, what is real freedom? Freedom of the senses or freedom from the senses? What's more valuable? to have freedom to exercise your senses howsoever you want, whensoever you want, and then experience the reactions to that, or to be free from that whole game altogether. Like we're getting to the root of the issue, right? And he also used this one Sanskrit word, swadhinata, which is used to denote the concept of freedom. But what it actually means, Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains, means self-control, self-mastery. Like this is the Vedic conception of freedom, to have control of the senses. This is real freedom. That's real, that's liberation, right? So we spoke about this, but on another occasion, Srila Sridhar Maharaj also shared that, I believe it was in an article that this criticism came against the Gaudiya Math about, oh, you're preaching slavery. And Saraswati Thakur, it was in a lecture, public lecture, I believe, he made a response to that criticism. And by saying that we're standing for the dignity of the human race, right? Slavery to the supreme absolute. This is a very high and noble thing. You know, we are standing for the dignity of the human race. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he made this interesting observation that around that same time, Mahatma Gandhi, he had advertised for a personal assistant. And there were so many top level Indians throughout the country who were competing for that position. And this wasn't, you know, some high level advisor or anything like that. This was someone who would, you know, carry papers, you know, make tea, clean up the office, you know, but, you know, there were like professors and intellectuals and all kinds of high level persons who wanted that, who were applying for that position because they thought, oh, it's Mahatma Gandhi. He's such a great soul that if we can have any position next to him, that will be for our upliftment, right? And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj pointed out, like, if persons can appreciate that in connection with Mahatma Gandhi, who's of this world, then what to speak of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Absolute. So if we think of that then all of these expressions, they make these expressions of humility, of surrender, they make sense, right? It's not about exploitation. It's not about low self-esteem and so on, but this is actually the most dignified position to have. And it is above all embracing what is our actual position, actual relationship. And this song is a particularly sweet description of that. Well, should we go back to our text? I'd love to hear some thoughts from our group on this subject.
So I did some traveling, and one of the times that I did traveling across the United States, I was lucky enough to be in a renovated bus. So it was like having a large TV of looking at all of the countryside. And when I did this, I had these two big black dogs. They were Labradors, so they were very, very, very sweet, but they would now and then be gruff if someone approached the bus, right? And so this is a very, I think about this position of a dog historically, right? We look at the symbolism and it could be very degrading. Sometimes they're sacrificed or eaten as food, or they sleep at the foot of the bed. And sometimes it can be very exonerated, like they're at the entryway of your door and they're showing your pride and your integrity, and in like a positive way. Like, so what does it mean to be a dog, right? Like, how are we supposed to internalize this? And everything that you're saying is in this very positive, exonerated sense. And so it's very fascinating to me, having slept with these dogs on a sofa in this bus.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Anjo. You know, it's a little intriguing because in India, like in the West, I mean, my impression is in the West is that dogs are kind of celebrated for their nature as being very loyal, right? And you know, very chaste to their masters, very loving. But it's interesting because in India, dogs, they're not, they don't have that type of position. You know, dogs are seen as kind of like dirty creatures. They're usually you'll see dogs described in a, you know, in a derogatory way, I would say in the scriptures. So it's kind of interesting in the Vaishnava culture, it seems that there's more of this view, you know, like our Gurudev also, he loved dogs, you know, and he would also speak about, you know, I heard him speak on one or two occasions about how dogs have this nature of being very, very loyal and very like attentive to their masters. And there was this one talk he gave where I don't know if you have it in America, but it's a big record music company. They have it in England. I've seen branches in India as well, HMV. And I never knew, I learned this from our Gurudev. It's actually a really old company, and the HMV stands for His Master's Voice. And there's this, oh, so you have it in America, where he says RCA. What does RCA stand for?
I think it was like Record Company of America or something. It was boring. It was not as good.
Oh, I see. That's pretty boring. It's pretty prosaic.
His master's voice, though,
Yeah.
makes me think of Yamaya singing the morning songs. She refused to go with Lennon to record because she said, no, I want to be here to support Prabhupada. And so like this is a very sweet way of looking at our master's voice.
Interesting. But they used to have this advertisement, because I looked it up, HMV, and I think our Gurudev talked about it too. They used to have this advertisement showing a dog running to a gramophone because he's here, because the voice of his master is playing through the speakers of the gramophone. This is
I've
like,
seen this.
you've
I've seen
it.
this in history. Yes. They don't use it anymore, but I've seen this.
So like wherever he hears the voice of his master, he's running there, right? That's his spirit.
But it's from a delight, not from a, I mean, I want to say not from a servitude. That's not quite what I mean. Not from like a necessarily a degradation, like a delight, a savorance of how I'd rather sing to the Lord than sing to the masses.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful sentiment. Yeah, I didn't catch that story that you told about Lenin's wife. It sounded very sweet, but I didn't catch it.
Not his wife. No, they were never married. So as we know, Prabhupada tried to start various temples in the United States, and as we know, Lenin visited these different temples as part of the Beatles, and one of the women was named Yamaya, like after the river, and she sung very beautifully. If you listen,
You mean Yamuna? Are you talking about Yamuna?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We were taught it more with a Y than a J.
Yeah,
Forgive me.
Bengali. Yeah, I tend to say J the Bengali way, but yeah, in ISKCON they'll say more Yamuna. Yeah, the Sanskrit sound. Yeah.
So in the
Yeah, she's
morning,
famous, isn't she?
well, within some circles, yes. And so each morning they do the darshan, the ringing of the bells and the singing of the deities, and it's a very sweet, and you get to hear her lovely voice, and there's other kirtan, and uh, uh, there's another word for just like holy singing that's not specific to the scriptures. Forgive me. Anyway, she does lots of these, and she was asked by Lennon to be, like Pink or Madonna or any of these. Like, she sings
Okay.
so
He wanted to
sweetly, and
make her into a star.
right, and so she
Okay.
she
Gotcha.
refused. And
Okay.
so hearing her kirtan is just so it's like extra sweet knowing that she said no.
That's very nice to hear.
Yes,
That's
yes.
very inspiring. Yeah, nice. She had that integrity. Beautiful.
She did, and it's like you said, inspiring, Sometimes we might go to reach out and maybe from this position of a dog wanting more, like a desire of too much, right? And she is so exonerated within her own sphere. It's yes, very
Mhm.
beautiful, very
Mhm.
beautiful.
Nice. Thanks for sharing, Angel. And Dana has shared the logo in our chat. His master's voice. Very cool. Okay, Marie's saying, okay, so in Christianity, dogs are spoken of in that way as an example, how to approach the
Which is really, really interesting because that was not the attitude in the Middle East in the first century.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
just a metaphor that is very, very common nowadays.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I imagine in the Middle East it was similar to the Vedic conception. Dogs are kind of dirty and low, and yeah.
Well, and I think even more so because those cultures relied so heavily on sheep herding and goat herding, and there wasn't a lot in the way of like small animals and stuff. So the dogs would often go after. So like if you didn't have a guard dog, the dog was probably eating somebody's sheep and taking away their ability to live,
Uh-huh.
Mm.
So they were really, really looked down on. There was one point where there's one point where Jesus, somebody from a different ethnic group comes up and asks Jesus to heal her, or maybe it's her daughter, I don't remember exactly. And he said, I've only been sent to the children of Israel, but he says it calling her a dog. So like he uses a slur, and it's the only time he ever like directly insults anyone.
Mm.
But then she replies, but even the dogs get to eat what falls from the master's table.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And he's
that's
like, okay, well then you're healed.
okay.
But she turned it around. Apparently it was a different word. Apparently it was the word for like puppy dog instead of the word for like wild dog. Because
Uh-huh.
apparently there are two separate words there even.
Very nice. Very nice.
I think about I'm from Ireland and and
Uh-huh.
Scotland, and I like to think about the trade, like the Silk Road, but we have another trade route that would go between Europe and India. And when they talk about this, they sometimes talk about dogs, and I know that maybe it's a little outside of our thought patterns, but they talk about Ram having two dogs or four dogs when he would travel, right? And this protectorship, right? And this protection is a form of servitude, right? Like, but it's a very like positive, honorific form of protecting this deity. So I think about that when I hear dogs in India. I go, yes, there's this very like unsavory, oh, they're running around in the alleyways and they're scared and these things, but there's also this very like honorific place for them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. We also hear there's an incident with Yudhisthira in the Mahabharata of a dog that he gives special protection to, and also Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah, now I'm thinking lots of different places. Well, it's been great to hear everyone's voices. I'd love to hear.
I have one other thing,
Oh, okay.
like, and
Awesome.
it's a quick one. So, I remember living in India, like when I was younger, I lived a few years in India, and they were considered, Indian people would tell me that dogs are considered incarnation of thieves. And thieves, yeah, stealing. And then I'm thinking of, okay, we've been looking at it in a transcendental way. So I'm thinking like, okay, if I am like the dog by your feet, I am just so super humble that I'm just like, I'm not even qualified. I have to steal the beautiful morsels of wisdom falling from your table, basically, like a dog.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Well, thank you all for sharing. Would love to hear something from Subhasini Didi. Can be on the dog topic or anything on the song that we just read. Whatever comes to mind. How do you feel about dogs?
No, I don't have much to say about the dogs, actually. Really. Well, that story, what you told about, Mahatma Gandhi, how the people are, really fighting to have a service, service connection to that's beautiful, because that service, which gives the joy, really. Today I was reading in, Chaitanya Charitamrita, like Mahaprabhu actually gave so much respect to Advaita Acharya, because he considered him a senior. But Advaita Acharya, he wanted to be like a servant of, Mahaprabhu.
Right. Right.
And I think that is, I can't remember the verse. He's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the service, to the Lord, but how joyful that gives, how joyful it is, how much joy it gives, And there is a one verse like there, actually, that the giving the so much joy. And there were several, he called several slokas, right, from different scriptures, and how Nanda Maharaj, he actually,
right.
although Krishna, he's his son, he feels like, he's serving, he's a servitor of the Lord, This is what gives so much joy. So I was thinking about that, actually, really, that how the service, like also that the story you told about, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, like that slavery to the supreme absolute, it is not slavery to somebody else or something else. That is a joyful position. So that was, just
You just reminded me, and there's a very beautiful expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. It's in Prapana Jivanamrita. It's in the preface. And it's this preface, it's been prepared from talks of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, the foreword. It's a complete synopsis of the Gaudiya Vaishnava conception, and there's a comparison made between different conceptions, and it's absolutely beautiful and very systematic development. And you've just reminded me of this is right at the end of this text. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is sweetness and magnanimity combined, openly announce that we are all natural slaves of the highest entity. But this is slavery to the great force of love and beauty. It is the greatest fortune to be utilized in any way by the absolute existence, knowledge, and beauty, to be in harmony with the highest center. No one is forced or barred, but this is the soul's intrinsic nature. Slavery to the great force of love and beauty. It's a line that rings in my head sometimes. And, you know, there was this newspaper article. It was, and this was one of our Chinese god sisters. She, you know, she connected through Yudamanyu Prabhu, and she wrote this article for a local newspaper. This was in Chengdu, the city of Chengdu in China. And this is, you know, she's been hearing about Krishna consciousness for about a year or two. And this is the point that captured her, and she wrote an article on it, and she titled the article "Serving Beauty." We have a copy of it too somewhere.
Where?
Serving Beauty. That was what she called the article. You know, this was the point that captured her. This concept of being a servant, but servant of what? To what? To beauty and love, charm. You know, this is what it means to be Krishna Das, right? To be Jiver Supoy Krishna Nitya Das. It's not something to be afraid of, to shy away from, but the most joyful, fulfilling, happy thing. So, yes. Thank you for sharing that to us, Nidhi.
Yes, beautiful.
Well, I guess we're kind of at the end of our time. Any last comments from our group today, or should we close there? There are some more nice things in the chat.
Go over the things in the chat. I have a question that's a little off topic.
What's that?
So I was at the store the other day, and there's I obviously don't look Indian, but there are some Indian fellows, and so I wished them happy Holi. And we got into a conversation, and they said that they're of a different lineage. So I was hoping you might be able to explain to me maybe something. So they also support Nityananda, but they said that during their Holi they celebrate Nitaha as a deity, and I was wondering if you might be able
They
to
celebrate who as a deity?
Nitaha. It's like a D or an H at the end, not Nanda. Nitaha or Da.
I'm not sure about that. I'd have to see. I mean, there are many different Tungaras is asking me to share the link. There are many different Gaudiya groups, you know, there are many different lines, you know. I mean, I always find Mark Twain's comment very helpful. When it comes to religion, India is the millionaire. Right? and the thing is, like, there are so many different conceptions, and then within each conception there are many sub-conceptions.
No,
So,
fair,
like,
fair, yes.
you know, so like first of all, Mahaprabhu is not even that well known in India. You know, like outside.
No, I had to explain who he was. Yes, and once I explained who he was, they knew who he was, but they're like, "Oh, why would you follow this renegade?" was apparently their suggestion, and I'm like, knowing my personality, of course I'd follow this quote unquote renegade. Like, it's a good thing that he went and did these ecstatic dancing and chanting. That's very much what I need. Yes.
Yeah, there are many who see Mahaprabhu as like a social revolutionary, a communist, even. Some are for it, some are against it. Yeah, there are all kinds of ideas. So I mean, first of all, Mahaprabhu is not that well known in India, like outside of Bengal and Orissa, he's not that well known. But within the world of followers of Mahaprabhu, there are many different lines, you know. And there are some who put more emphasis on Nityananda. There are some who worship Advaita Acharya. There are some who worship Advaita and kind of disregard Mahaprabhu. There are some who who worship Mahaprabhu disregard Nityananda Prabhu. There's many different lines. So I don't know this exact group and what they're some of them have some strange ideas, which I don't even want to repeat.
Fair.
Yeah, but there are many. All I can say is I know there are many different groups. If I saw written down the name, then I might recognize it. But you can just take it for granted. There's a lot of different Gaudiya groups.
To me, it's very astounding how all of these groups come together for the holiday, regardless of their differences. They're like, now is the time we celebrate. So I'm very happy for that.
Well, Holi is there are different ideas about Holi, and one, I think the principal idea, probably Suvasini Didi can say better, but I think one of the main ideas about it, it's like kind of following the Radha, Krishna, and the gopis. They would have this play amongst themselves, like throwing colored dye at each other. Is that the main idea of Holi, Suvasini Didi?
I don't know, and I think in that area, Brindavan, and and that area, probably that is the idea. I think they also have another, some holy dahan. Now, because in South India, we don't celebrate that at all.
Oh, you don't celebrate it, huh?
No,
Okay.
yeah. It's in the north, in Delhi area, and I think they have a different, like there is some other thing, something about holy, like Prahlad, Hiranyakasipu's sister, calling,
Right, that's right.
yeah, that is like, she wanted to kill Prahlad by, taking her on the lap or something like that. I don't know the whole story, but something like that they have, yeah.
Yeah, this
This sounds
festival of
similar to what he was saying. Yes. Yeah.
okay.
I'll have to look into it.
But yeah, it's a little confusing because Holi falls on the same day as Gaur Purnima. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if it's in some way connected. But they're not celebrating Gaur Purnima. It's another idea.
No, I realize this different we might say lineages of Hinduisms or Hindu Indian faith celebrate different things, maybe at the same, we're looking at we're looking at the full moon directly after the equinox. This is a similar time we'll find Easter and we'll find Purim. It's a very auspicious time through all of the faiths, through Jewish and Christianity and Hinduism. So I find it pleasurable to understand why other people are happy, even if I understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born under this. So we just had, during this full moon, we had eclipse. And supposedly when he was born also under the eclipse. And so this was very fascinating to try and see. Was anyone able to witness the eclipse?
I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna have to get off actually because of the whole time change. Our schedule here is thrown off a little. We've got to do our arti here. But thank you all so much for your participation, and it's been a really lively discussion. Thank you all for your contribution. I'm gonna jump off here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Vishaka Didi,
Vishaka.
Sulalita.
Yes.
Thank you for today.
Thank you, Mataji, for having class. It's always so
Hare
wonderful.
Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining and sharing, Anjo. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Shri
Jai.
Bhakti Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai.
Jai.
Nidhi ki Jai. Itai Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
See you all
Vishaka
next
Didi ki
time.
jai. Jai.
Jai.
Jai.